Today on Commander Replay, we're off the edge of the map, cause here, there be sea monsters. What's the best way to survive a sea monster attack? Find out next on Commander Replay. Dinosaur Week continues. We're playing Nezahal Primal Tide. Our opening hand is a little bit too sketchy to keep, so we're gonna mulligan that. This is a little bit better. We have 4 lands, a Metallurgic Summonings, a Sapphire Medallion, and this Power Conduit, which is one of our combos. It combos with Decree of Silence. Basically, our opponents can't resolve spells after that point. So we'll keep this one. So our turn 1, we draw a Forbid, and we'll play an island. Tap and pass. Ooh, that's a Winter Orb for our opponent. Things will probably get pretty difficult now. Stacks, anyone? I'm looking at the green and red players to be able to deal with that. Hapatra coming into play. Seems pretty good with that Winter Orb down. Brainstorm for our opponent. We draw into an island. So we'll play an island and then play our Sapphire Medallion. Sapphire Medallion should help us a little bit with the Winter Orb out. It's not amazing, but making our spells cheaper will help us in the long run if no one can get rid of this Winter Orb for a long time. Sol Ring for the Alicia opponent. That will help them out quite a bit with the Winter Orb on the field. And cast their commander. Opponent decides to tack into the Maelstrom Wanderer. I can always get down for that. And that should hopefully put a -1/-1 counter on the Alicia who smiles at death. At least if the Hapatra is able to tax the Alicia by killing it a few times, it'll really make things difficult for them with the Winter Orb down. I imagine most of the creatures in Alicia's deck are very small, so they'll probably be able to cast those, just they won't have access to their commander. Rampant Growth for the Maelstrom Wanderer opponent. So back to our turn, we get to untap 1 land, choose one of our islands. We draw a Flow of Ideas. We're a long way from being able to cast that. Drop an island, and pass the turn. Next turn we could potentially drop down our Metallurgic Summonings. That'll give us some measure of defense against the Alicia opponent, but our tokens would probably get slowly taken down by this Hapatra. Bone Shredder for our opponent. Can destroy a non-black creature. And that doesn't really seem worth it in my opinion. It's going to destroy the Death Touch token. Yeah, with Winter Orb down, I mean, just in general, that Bone Shredder play seems kind of suspect, but whatever. I mean, part of me just wants to hold up mana for the Forbid on the Maelstrom Wanderer. That would be pretty... Oh, Alicia scoops it up. Well, looks like it's going to be tough finding a good game tonight. So, Winter Orb is gone. That's a thing. That's a shame scoop if I've ever seen one. Corrosive Mentor. Oh, yeah. Black creatures have Wither. Yeah. Seems pretty good. Sakura Tribe Elder for our opponent. And a Thematic Compass. Flips into the Maze of Ithland on the other side. Spires of Oriska. So, we draw into an island. Play the island. Question right here is, do we hold up Forbid for the Maelstrom Wanderer? Well, I guess that play's not as good as it was, because then they can just recast their Maelstrom Wanderer. 4, 5, 6, 7. I think they'll be one short of their Maelstrom Wanderer this turn, so let's slam our Metallurgic Summonings. Archfiend of Ifnir. Plesiosaurs were marine reptiles, not dinosaurs, that lived from 200 million years ago to 66 million years ago. Interestingly, they were able to survive the Triassic extinction event, but not the Cretaceous extinction event. Except for the ones that still live in Loch Ness. They made it. Archfiend of Ifnir. Whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. Oh boy. This Power Conduit may actually be really good against the Hapatra, because we can remove the -1/-1 counters, and then put +1/+1 counters in their place. There's some jank for you. Terrain Generator for the Maelstrom Wanderer opponent. Terrain Generator is a card I've messed around with. It's never as good as you want it to be. The only time that I find it to be really useful is in the middle combat step when you have Aurelia and Sword of Feast and Famine, because your lands untap, and unless you have any instants that are worth using, you lose that untap with your lands in the first combat phase, because when you attack again, the lands untap again. That's about the only time that I've really found it to be useful. Otherwise, I'm just kind of like, meh, if I'm spending 3 to do that, I'm probably losing position on the board in some other way. Occasionally, that extra land does matter late in the game, but it's been rare when that happens. Anyway, Ryusi the Falling Star comes down. This should actually be pretty good, because that can kill a lot of Hapatra's stuff if we blow that up at some point. The land is flipped into Spires of Oriska. So Maze of Ith is online for the Maelstrom Wanderer opponent. Yeah, Forbid I don't think is going to be as great as we want it to be against the Maelstrom Wanderer now, with Winter Orb gone. So I think we just slam this Flow of Ideas. Get a nice little token out of the Metallurgic Summonings. It's a 6/6. And we draw a whole bunch of lands. Discard the Coral Atoll and an island. That means we can make our next 2 land drops. And then we've got Dig Through Time as backup after that. And our construct is just big enough to survive the hit from Ryusi the Falling Star, assuming no -1/-1 counters. That's a Bajuka Bog. Let's see what gets. Goes after the Maelstrom Wanderer opponent. Nice. Opponent cycles a desert, and Archfiend of Ifnir is going to trigger. Makes another token for the Hapatra. Also puts a -1/-1 counter on our construct. Sol Ring for the Hapatra opponent. Blowfly Infestation. Whenever a creature dies, if it had a -1/-1 counter on it, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Oh boy, it starts. I mean, I kind of wish I had counter mana open for that one, but what can you do? Maelstrom Wanderer coming down, puts 2 Cascade triggers on the stack. Let's see what they find. Arcane Denial. That's not going to do a ton for them. And an Elder Scale Worm. Enters battlefield, your life total is less than 7, it becomes 7. As long as you have 7 or more life. Damage that would reduce your life total to less than 7 reduces it to 7 instead. Interesting. And all of those things have haste. Hopefully they don't come our way. So opponent sends the Ryusi the Falling Star into the Hapatra opponent. We draw a Temple of the False God. That's actually, I like that draw right here. That gives us just a little bit of boost of mana, which I think we need. What are we going to do this turn? So I'd like to get down Brawl. Brawl would be 1. Then I would like to get down the Power Conduit, which would leave open 2 for the counter spell. So actually maybe we wait on the Temple of the False God. So let's get Brawl down. Cast the Power Conduit, play our tap land, and we'll leave up the 2 mana for counterspell. Plus we have a cost reduction of 2. We're actually not that far away from Dig Through Time. Opponent cracks an Evolving Wilds. That's a Necroskidder. Man, I want to counter that Necroskidder, but I don't. Necroskidder is annoying and can win games, but Maelstrom Wanderer could have just way worse things than Necroskidder. We've got some Mass Bounce, so Mass Bounce can take care of Necroskidder pretty easily. Noxious Hatchling coming in. And opponent gets to make some more tokens off of the Noxious Hatchling, coming in with minus counters on it. No attacks from our opponent. They decide to pass the turn. Opponent cracks an Evolving Wilds. For those that have seen Walking with Dinosaurs and the 2003 spin-off Sea Monsters, they talked about a massive 80-foot sea monster named Liopleurodon. Unfortunately, upon discovering a full skeleton, they determined that the max size was actually about 21 feet. Oops. Collective Voyage. Ew. Each player may pay any amount of mana. Each player searches his library for up to X basic lands, where X is the total mana paid this way, puts them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffles his or her library. Looks like opponent's going X1. Oh, this is tricky. Oh, so opponent's going to go X5 on that. So I'm going to join in for 2. So that'll give us all 7 lands. And with 7 lands, we can do a lot of crazy things. Our deck is going to scale much better with a lot of lands than the Hapatra will. Maelstrom Wanderer can definitely go pretty big also, but we've got a lot of counter spells and a lot of card draw. So I think we should be able to find a way to deal with their stuff. So we get, wow, 8 lands. That's going to change the landscape of this game a little bit. The good news is we'll be able to get our commander down very, very easily, which is where I want to be, because then we'll start drawing stuff like crazy. 8 islands coming in for us. Bam! We've got a lot of lands in play. Opponent sends the Ryusi back into the Hapatra opponent. So Hapatra down to 30. And at the end step, we're going to remove a -1/-1 counter from this construct. So we're going to choose Baral, and then we're going to remove a counter from this construct and put a +1/+1 counter on Baral. What I'm trying to do is get Baral out of range of the Ryusi, but we've still got a few more ticks to go before that'll be a thing. Drop down this Temple of the False God. I think we start by casting our commander. So Nezahal, Primal Tide, coming in. It's an Elder Dinosaur. Dig Through Time is an instant. I'm going to wait to play that and just hold up the mana so that we can forbid Dig Through Time or counterspell as we need to. We also might be able to draw some cards off the Nezahal as things get going. Our opponents don't have a lot of cards in hand, 2 each, but even 1 or 2 card draws right here would be really put us ahead in the card advantage department. Rendclaw Tro coming into play. 2/2 Wither Persist. Counters coming off the Noxious Hatchling. Skinrender coming into play. Gonna put some -1/-1 counters on something. Let's find out what. If it's Ryusi, unfortunately, then Baral won't survive. Targets the Ryusi. So Ryusi's down to 1 toughness. So opponent wants to hit us with the Hapatra, which will kill the Ryusi, and that'll blow up all the tokens. I'll say okay to that. Right now, it'd be really difficult for us to deal with all those tokens, so I'm sort of okay with the Ryusi blowing everything up. We will lose our Baral, but our opponents will lose significantly more. Now, because of the Necroskidder, opponent will gain control of the Ryusi, so we will have to deal with it again. Oh, and opponent has Spires of Oriska, so that's going to be a non-issue. Honestly, I'm kind of okay either way. Like, I wasn't completely sold that that was the thing that we needed to do, but it seemed fine. Angrith Marauders. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to permanent or player. Yeah, that's not gonna work for me. We'll go with Counterspell on this one. Get a Metallurgic Summonings trigger. Brawl triggers. We use Brawl's ability. There's an Intruder alarm. Intruder alarm. Do we discard the Ancient Tomb, or do we discard... Yeah, we'll discard the Ancient Tomb. As much as I like the additional mana, we've already got a lot of mana to work with, and I feel like the life-draining aspect of Ancient Tomb will be worse than just taking a single mana off of a basic land. Intruder alarm will be pretty interesting with Hapatra. Oh, that's a Rite of Replication. Trying to copy the Archfiend of Ifnir. I say we start by digging through time. Is the Rite of Replication kicked? Yes. The Rite of Replication is kicked. That'd be a million Archfiends of Ifnir. First thing we'll do, we'll actually let... we're going to let Nezahal draw trigger resolve. See if we find a counterspell. It's a Mindslaver. That's a card. Next thing we're going to do is dig through time. So we'll pay the 2 blue. We will delve the lands, and we'll pay 1 more. So we get another Metallurgic Summonings trigger. It's an 8/8. Let's see. Oh, there's a Pognify. That'll fix the problem. I'm going to take the Dachshund of Perfection and the Pognify and put the rest on bottom. Pognify the Archfiend of Ifnir. Get another Metallurgic Summonings trigger. And both of our opponents are at 0 cards in hand now, so things are actually looking pretty good for us. Oh, this deck. This deck. So Rite of Replication fizzles. And at the end step, we're going to crack the Myriad Landscape. Imprisoned in the Moon. Nice. We will definitely be needing that at some point. Question is, which opponent do we try and kill with the Mindslaver? Don't really have any mass bounce yet against the Hapatra opponent. Right now, I'm more scared of Hapatra just because they have a lot of tokens and can keep generating more tokens and stealing things with Necroskitter. So I think that we play the Mindslaver and hit them with it. Mindslaver coming in. So I'm going to hit the Hapatra opponent, because by hitting the Hapatra opponent, we can send all their guys into the Maelstrom Wanderer, which then means that they won't have any blockers left open, which I really like. We'll stay put for this turn. No real need to go attacking, but let's see. Do we want to cast our Dachshund of Perfection? I don't think we need the Dachshund just yet. I want to leave the Forbid open, and we may need to Forbid, buyback, and then Forbid again. So that's a thing that I want to leave ourselves open to. There's a Black Sun Zenith on our opponent's library. That's interesting. Casting Black Sun Zenith would get us a card draw. We should go to combat first, I think, actually. So attack our other opponent. See how this shakes out. So opponent's going to block with the Ryusi, so that is going to blow up a lot of things. Nope, decides not to. Alright, decides to block with it again. Opponent's going to use the Spires on one of the tokens. Oh man, we should have imprisoned in the moon the Maelstrom Wanderer. I didn't think about that. So we got a bunch of triggers we got to deal with. We'll put a minus counter on the Elder Scale Worm, because we'd like to get rid of that at some point. No way to save our Baral, which kind of sucks. We also lose a few tokens. So Blowfly Infestation on the Elder Scale Worm. Ooh, opponent gets the Ryusi. Ugh. We don't have any... Well, we have the Dachshund of Perfection in our hand, so that can help us out. We'll put a counter on our Nezahal so that we can start using Power Conduit again. Power Conduit, the anti-Hapatra. Alright, so Maelstrom Wanderer lost everything they had. Unfortunately, the Hapatra gets the Ryusi. For some reason, we can't use our Power Conduit. Not sure why. The question is whether it's worth... I'm going to Black Sun for 0. This will get us some card draw. That's a Jace Belrin. Nice. And pass the turn. Maelstrom Wanderer coming back into play. See what they get out of the Cascade triggers. There's a Sol Ring. That'll get us some card draw. I'm down with that. And we draw a Cyclonic Rift. Nice. And that's a Blatant Thievery. Uh-oh. So opponent's going to try to steal our Metallurgic Summonings. Let me see if we can counter the Blatant Thievery. Yeah, we can counter it. Question is, do we do it with buyback? What 2 cards do we get rid of if we do it with buyback? Man, I kind of want all these cards. Alright, we're going to go no buyback. Actually, I know what we can do. We can sacrifice the Metallurgic Summonings at some point and get the Forbid back. So we'll Forbid the Blatant Thievery, and Metallurgic Summonings triggers again. And we get to draw a card. It's a land. Was hoping for some gas right there. And Maelstrom Wanderer coming down. No attacks for the Maelstrom Wanderer. And we're going to remove a counter from Nezahal and put it back on Nezahal, so our commander gets a little bigger. Nezahal now an 8/8. I don't feel like we need a Cyclonic Rift right now, so we'll just hang on to that. There's a Disdainful Stroke. Nice. Player land. We're going to Imprison in the Moon the Maelstrom Wanderer. Turn it into a vegetable. Attack the Maelstrom Wanderer opponent. Opponent's going to use the Spires of Oriska and untap our commander. But we hit them down to 9. I'll take that. Oh, actually, we have a tectonic edge that we can use on their spires. We'll do that somewhere before the next turn. Cast Jace Belrin. Then I'm going to go We Draw Only. Our opponents are low on cards, so I don't really want to give them cards. Ooh, we draw Veldakin Shackles. Nice. First thing, we'll play the Intruder Alarm. That'll let us untap our tokens if we need to, so that we can have blockers. Play the Veldakin Shackles. Wait till our opponent's turn, probably gain control of the Ryusi. Play the Dasein of Perfection. That'll untap all of our creatures. And then pass the turn. Opponent's going to play a Costly Plunder. They can have it. We draw a Bribery. Nice. Bet that'll be good against the Maelstrom Wanderer. Plague Belcher. Menace. Enters the battlefield, put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature you control. Whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Meh, not really worried about that. Intruder Alarm triggers. And Hapatra scoops it up. Nice. They see what's coming. We've got the mono blue lock. Basically, our opponents don't really have any cards, and we do, so that's making all the difference. Form of the Dragon, you say? Yeah, that's not really a big deal. I mean, there's a recurring insight. Not going to do much when our opponents don't have cards, but our opponent will be dead on the next turn, so not too worried about it. Archetype of Endurance. Yep, not really worried about that either. Creatures untap. Opponent's life total becomes 5. We draw Rapid Hybridization. Let's go to combat. Oh, only creatures with flying can attack. Well, we still got the Dasein of Perfection. Looks like opponent may get 1 more turn because of the spires, if they want to play it out. Yep, looks like they do. Have at it, opponent. We will Bribery you, just in case. Metallurgic Summonings triggers. Dasein of Perfection triggers. I did forget to blow up that spires again with the Tectonic Edge. Intruder Alarm triggers. Bribery. Let's see what our opponent's got. Bet there's some big stuff. There's an Arcanus. There's an Archetype of Imagination. That's fun. Avatar of Slaughter. Bane of Belgala. All creatures. Myriad guy. Colossal Whale. Atali seems good. Let's take Atali. Next thing we're going to do is shoot down these spires so that we don't forget again. And then pass the turn. Form of the Dragon gets to do 5 damage to something. Have at it. And opponent scoops it up. Nice. So we just won 2 games with Metallurgic Summonings. Pretty excited, because that's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I don't play a lot of blue decks, and I play even less blue decks that support Metallurgic Summonings. So it's been fun. You just sit back, cast some spells, and next thing you know, you get some real big tokens that you can use to just turn sideways on your opponents. So Nezahal is really, really powerful. Having a good blue deck around Nezahal also makes it even that much stronger. But once Nezahal's in play, it's really difficult to deal with. It draws you more cards, no max hand size, you can't counter it. It's just a lot of really powerful text on Nezahal. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.